Welcome to the Flora Sage Podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. Hello, everyone. So this is going to be another walk and talk and walk. Haven't decided what to call it, but hey, this is a segment that I do when I'm not at my desk and I want to record something for all of you fine folks. So earlier today, I was checking email and there was a quote in the email, and the quote said, 6 months from now, you can be in a completely different place, mentally, spiritually, and financially. Keep working and believing in yourself. I cannot agree with that statement more. I want you to think about where you're at in this very moment. Are you happy with it? Are you frustrated? Are you pissed? Are you disappointed? Are you ecstatic? Are you pinching yourself saying, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life? Or are you somewhere in between? I really want you to look at it, because so often we don't. So often, most of the time, we get up, we get ready for the day, we do the day, whether you work for yourself or you work for someone else. You go to work, you do the thing that you do to make money. You come home, you make dinner or you make food. Maybe you sit down, you watch Netflix. Maybe you play video games. Maybe you just eat and then go to bed and start over. And you just are on this hamster wheel. Trust me, I have been there. Even though I work from home and am an entrepreneur and an owner of my company, things happen like that, where you just get into this routine and you get into this grind, this hamster wheel, where every day it's like Groundhog Day all over again. If you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. It's awesome. But so often, more times than not, we're unconscious. We wake up and we just do the day, and then we go to bed, and then, we wake up and we're literally living our life on repeat. How often, though, do you stop and say, wait a minute, do I like my job? Do I like who my friends are? Do I like the state of my body? Do I like the state of my finances? Do I like the state of my relationships? Do I like the state of my mental health or my spiritual health and well-being? Or am I just kind of glossing over a shit show? Maybe it's not a shit show. Maybe everything's going pretty good, but there's a couple things that you keep sweeping under the rug. I have another podcast about sweeping stuff under the rug. But in any case, how often do you just stop and assess? And it doesn't have to take very long. Like, you live your life. You are like 1,000% ingrained in your life. So typically when you ask yourself that question, you will get an immediate answer. But what happens is we get the immediate answer and then we don't want to hear the answer. So then we pretend that we're not getting an answer. And we're like, yeah, I'm just going to push that aside and not think about that. Why is that? Why do we do that? Why do we ignore the obvious? Or why do we ignore where we're at? It's because we're tired. We are stretched and maxed out. We are stretched out energetically, maxed out emotionally. And by the end of the day, we're exhausted. So we don't have the energy to address whatever is going on that we're not happy with. And that's the beautiful thing about the 1 degree shift. You don't have to have any energy really to do the 1 degree shift method. You literally can be laying on your bed, completely void of energy, and you can create a 1 degree shift in your life. So you might be asking yourself, okay, how? How and why and what the hell is the point? Well, the point is, I want you to be happier. Because if you're not happy right now, and you don't have the energy to make any changes, that means 6 months from now, you're going to be in the same place or worse. And you're still going to be happy. You're still going to be unhappy. You're not going to be happy with the results that you're having or the life that you're living. And you're going to be frustrated and you're going to be like, ugh, and it's going to be 6 months later. And so in order, like literally, all you have to do to create a 1-degree shift is decide to do so. And you literally do not need to take any extra energy to do it, because I'm here to tell you, my friends, that it takes just as much energy to do the thing as it does to not do the thing. I mean, think about it. Let's just say that you want to do a 20-minute workout, okay? And you're like, oh, I really need to do a workout, or I really should do a workout. You know, we've all should on ourselves before. I really should do that 20-minute yoga workout. I really should. I know that it's going to make me feel better. And then what do? You take the mat out and you set it in the middle of your living room. And you're like, yes, tomorrow morning, me, the yoga mat, the floor, it's on. We're doing it. I don't care how tired I am. I'm doing it. And then you wake up, maybe you hit snooze a couple times and you're like, oh, okay, I'm getting ready for the day. You walk past your living room, you see that yoga mat, you're like, damn it, I'm tired, I'm running behind. I'll just do it when I get home from work. And then you get home from work and then you're like, oh, I'm too tired. I'm going to eat first and then I'm going to do the yoga. And every time you pass that yoga mat, you see the yoga mat and your energy in your mind, I really need to do that. I really need to do that. I should do that. You spend all this mental energy avoiding it and reminding yourself, I need to do this. Oh, I'm going to do this first. Oh, I really need to do that. And all day long, you keep teetering. Your thoughts keep going back to that yoga mat, back to that yoga mat, back to that yoga, back to the intention of I should do this, I need to do that, I want to do that, but I'm not going to do it. Whereas if you would have just in the morning, you're like, shit, I'm running behind. I have 5 minutes instead of 20. I'll just do the 5 minutes. So you bust out that yoga mat. You unroll it because it's already there. You unroll it and you stand there in mountain pose and you're like, okay, take a couple deep breaths. You go into down dog. Maybe you do the sun salutation. Maybe you only do it for 3.5 minutes. Maybe you do like a fast sun salutation. And you're like, yeah, okay, woo, I did it. Boom, 3.5 minutes, I'm out. And you know what? The rest of the day, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel accomplished. You're going to be like, hell yeah, I did it. Did you do 20 minutes? No. Did you do 3.5 minutes? Yes. And that is good enough. That is good enough, my friends. You don't have to go big or go home. Like, I used to be that person. I used to be the go big or go home. Let's do this. Woo! You know, I mean, I'm a Marine. So Marines are kind of like that go big or go home kind of mentality. And trust me, I know a lot of Marines. My boys are Marines. My exes are Marines. My sister's a Marine. But you know what? The thing is that if you go big or go home all the time, that leads to burnout. Okay? And the thing is one of the traits of a Marine is leadership. And sometimes your leadership, aka yourself or the higher ups, might say, hey Marine, you need to back off a little bit. You need to relax, adapt and overcome. Like that is one of our mottos, kind of unofficial mottos, adapt and overcome. And that's the thing, is that as someone who knows 3 minutes is better than nothing, and it doesn't have to be 20 minutes, you adapt to your day and you overcome those obstacles. You overcome the mind chatter that is telling you that you can't do something or that you have to do it a certain way. Adapting and overcoming is realizing, hey, I slept in an extra 10 or 15 minutes and that's okay. I'm going to spend 3 minutes doing yoga and I'm going to feel like a badass all day because I did yoga, even if it was for 3.5 minutes. So get rid of that go big or go home mentality. stay away from that energy of, or that thought process of thinking, well, if I can't do the full 20 minutes of yoga, I can't do yoga. Bullshit. Just take it out, do down dog. Just do one down dog. Boom. You don't have to go big or go home. You literally can, and this is the whole premise of the 1 degree shift, you can just do one pose and be okay with that. You can lay in bed and say, shit, I didn't do my yoga. Oh, hey, I could do corpse pose. Boom, there you go. You're doing yoga. And the thing is, and for those of you who do yoga, I jest, of course, but you literally can say, I'm going to lay in my bed and mindfully do corpse pose. Corpse pose essentially is when you lay on your back and you let your feet and legs naturally rest, and they usually just kind of like pivot to the side, like your ankles kind of pivot out, and then your hands palm facing up lay on your side next to you. And you are just mindfully resting, mindfully there, mindfully in your body, feeling your body rest against the mat or the floor, or in your case, the bed, whatever. And you allow yourself to just be in that space. And I know that I'm using yoga as an example here, but this literally could be with anything. So when you give yourself permission to embody the 1 degree shift method, you're going to start loving your life again. So for those of you who are new to my work, what is the 1 degree shift method? Well, I have a whole book called The 1 Degree Shift. And the 1 degree shift method is my method that I've developed over the last 20 years to help myself get out of the biggest funk I was in my life. I had ran away from my life. I literally gave everything I owned away, moved to South Africa with my 2 kids, and hit rock bottom. And I realized, okay, I have no energy for anything, but I need help. And so I prayed to my peeps. I'm like, all right, peeps, I need just one step. Please give me just one step on how to get out of this shit show of a life. And they said, call your sister and ask if you can move in with her. I said, okay. So I grabbed the boys, went to the house, called her. I said, hey, it's not working out here. Can I come live with you? She's like, sure. I'm like, awesome. Hung up the phone and I'm like, okay, now what? And they're like, buy tickets home. I'm like, okay. So got online, bought some tickets. Actually, I don't even think I got online because this was like in early 2000. I think I called the airline agent. I'm like, hey, I need tickets to, Minnesota from South Africa, yada, yada. Did that whole thing. And then when I got there, I'm like, okay, now what? And I only had the energy for one step, for one thing. I didn't have the energy to go big. I didn't have a home to go home to because at that point I had gotten rid of everything. And so I truly could only muster up the energy to do one thing. And that one thing led to another thing, led to another thing, led to another thing. And just being willing to take one baby step. I'm totally going to start crying because it changed my life. Every step I took, I got a little bit closer to who I was. I figured out, I discovered who I was. I discovered what I liked, what I didn't like. I discovered what I was okay with in relationships and what I wasn't okay with. I discovered how to be a good mom. I discovered how to be a good lover. I discovered how to be a good partner. I discovered how to be a better coach. I discovered how to really identify what worked and what didn't work because I was able to stop and say, wait a minute, this doesn't feel good. This feels off. This feels funky. This feels a little weird. However you want to describe whatever it is that your life is feeling, go for it. It doesn't have to be this enormous shit show of a life. You can come to the 1 degree shift method having a really fucking kick-ass life, but saying, there's just something I can't quite put my finger on, but I just don't feel like I'm as happy as I think I should be because I have everything that I've ever wanted, but I feel like there's something missing. Okay, perfect. So when people come to the 1 degree shift method, it's not because, sometimes it's because their life is an utter shit show, but then most of the time, my clients and the people that listen to this podcast and that are in my space are, generally pretty freaking happy. But there's just a couple things that are just a little bit off. And so what the 1 degree shift method is basically, in a nutshell, I have an entire book that goes through the entire process, but in a nutshell, the 1 degree shift is this. How do I feel right now? Or what do I feel about, and then fill in the blank of the aspect of your life. How do I feel about my job? How do I feel about my health? How do I feel about my wealth? How do I feel about my relationships? How do I feel about my diet? How do I feel about my spiritual practice? How do I feel about my relationship with my children? How do I feel about my relationship with my caregivers? How do I feel about my relationship with my partner? How do I feel about, like I said, fill in the blank. How do I feel about my social media usage? How do I feel about my sleep? Like literally, you can apply this to literally every aspect of your life. Once you ask yourself that question, how do I feel about blank? You're gonna get the answer. Just like I said at the beginning of this podcast episode, you're gonna get that answer dropped into you. Boom, there you go. Here's the answer. And like I said, most of us at one point or another in our life, we run away from the answer that we get, because that means if we're not happy, something's got to change. And change is scary most of the time. It's because it's unpredictable. We don't know. Like, change means that typically we are not in control, or that there is some aspect of our life that we're not in control of because something is shifting and changing. Sometimes we initiate the change, like, I'm going to move to South Africa. Okay, that's a huge change. I bought the tickets, I gave everything we owned away, and we packed up and we moved. That was a change that I did. I pursued, I actively engaged in. But there's other changes that sometimes we're not in control of. And this is usually the change that people run away from. It's, I want a divorce, or you have cancer, or you have diabetes, or you're fired. So these changes, those are very abrupt changes that literally will turn people's lives upside down. Or your house, let's just say that you're on vacation, you come back, your house burnt down. That's a real thing that happens to so many people. All of these big life-changing things happen. Getting fired, losing a job, having a death in the family, getting a divorce, having a medical diagnosis that was unexpected, or maybe even expected, but still hearing it out of the mouth of someone else will turn your life around typically and like upside down, and you're like, oh shit, now what do I do? So when we think of change, typically we think of these big, massive changes. So of course, it's not any wonder why people run away from change, because you're like, no, because typically in the past, these big upheavals have literally turned your life upside down. So why would someone actively seek out change? To be happier. And the thing is you don't have to wait for life to turn you on, like, all over. Like, you don't have to wait until life turns you upside down and throws this giant cosmic curveball at you. You can choose to be in control of the change. You can choose to initiate with intention a positive change and an intentional change. And how do you do that? You literally stop for just a second and just take a deep breath and say, how do I feel? What's going on today? And it might just be where you stop and you check in with yourself. How do I feel? I'm dehydrated. Okay, what's one thing I can do? I can get up and go get some water. Perfect. There you go. Maybe you do that every day. Maybe you're a chronic dehydrator. Like maybe you just are not a water drinker. But every day for the next 30 days or even the next week, you check in with yourself. You listen to this podcast. You're like, you know what? I'm going to try this. So you stop and you check in. I'm dehydrated. My mouth is dry. Okay, I'm going to get some water. Or I'm going to get some apple juice. Or I'm going to get a Gatorade. Or I'm going to get whatever. So you start hydrating. And you start feeling better. The brain fog starts lifting. Maybe you're sleeping better. Maybe you're pooping better. Like everybody poops, people, okay? Maybe you're pooping better. When you poop better, when you poop good, literally everything else works better. Seriously. So maybe after a week, you're like, wow, you know what? I feel really good. All from hydrating and drinking water. My partner is not a big water drinker. And so I frequently am like slipping him bottles of water. I'm like, here, have a glass of water. Here, have some water. Here, have some water. And that's the thing is that when he's hydrated, he feels better. He's like, I think better. Everything feels better. I sleep better. I'm more awake. I'm not as tired. So let's just say that you do that for a week. And then you carry it on for 2 weeks. And then 3 weeks. And because you make that shift and you feel better, maybe now because you feel better, you're more able to and willing to try another thing. Try something else. And because it's tiny, because it's a 1 degree shift, it's not 20 steps, it's 1 baby step. And because you gave yourself permission to take that 1 baby step of having that glass of water every morning or doing 3 minutes of yoga, all of a sudden what happens is you literally are in a completely different place 6 months from now. And you did it gradually. You did it in tiny 1 degree increments. So I'm here to tell you, my friend, that your life can look completely different if you give yourself permission to recognize the life that you have. And like I said, most of the people that come to me and that are in my realm have a great life. They're happy, they're healthy for the most part. There's just maybe 1 or 2 things that they want to tweak. Maybe 1 or 2 things. And sometimes somebody's a complete shit show, and that is their vernacular. They're like, Flora, I'm just a shit show. I need your help. It's like, all right, let's do this. Let's do this. So this week, give yourself permission to recognize the great life that you have and all of the hard work that you've done to get to where you're at. And then give yourself permission to say, how am I doing? And look at those areas of your life that you may not feel really, really excited about. And just give yourself permission to just say, what's one thing that I can do to help shift that to what I really want? What's one thing I can do? And if you're still not quite sure, grab a piece of paper and write out an area. Okay? Maybe it's your weight. Maybe you're like, you know what? My weight it's not good for me right now. So you write that on a piece of paper, my weight. Say, how do you feel about your weight? I need to lose 10 pounds. Okay, why? Why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Well, because my clothes are starting to fit snug. I'm just not feeling as comfortable in my body. My knees are starting to hurt. And I want to nip it in the bud before it maybe turns into 20 pounds or 30 pounds. Okay, perfect. Okay, so your goal then and your intention is to lose and release 10 pounds. All right, cool. What's one thing you can do today to start? One thing, one tiny little thing. Okay, so maybe today you'll stop eating at 6 p.m. Instead of having a snack before you go to bed, Maybe you have a cup of like peppermint tea or something. Okay, cool. So that's what I'm going to try. Today I'm going to stop eating at 6 p.m. That's it. Now, is that hard? Absolutely not. Maybe, it might be. And knowing, okay, so I'm not going to eat after 6 p.m., so I'm going to eat a little bit more for dinner so that I'm not hungry at 9 p.m. whenever I usually have my snack. Okay, cool. So have a little bit extra. Maybe have a little bit extra vegetables or whatever. And then 9 p.m. comes around, maybe you go to bed at 10, you start to get up to have that snack and you remind yourself, wait a minute, I'm not having a snack tonight. I'm going to have some peppermint tea instead, or some warm water, or just some water. Or maybe I get up at 9 o'clock and brush my teeth. Because getting up at 9 o'clock, that's a habit. And these habits you have to break. I actually talk about habits. I have a whole section about habits in the book. And so you get up, you brush your teeth, you're like, yeah, okay, nice, awesome. And you do that for an entire week. At the end of the week, you weigh yourself, you're down 2 pounds. And the only thing that you did was at 9 o'clock, instead of getting up to have a snack, you get up, you brush your teeth, and don't have a snack. That's the only thing you changed. The one tiny little change, that's it. One tiny change, you lost 2 pounds already. Boom, there you go. This builds momentum. These tiny little 1-degree shifts that you take every day builds momentum. I've got this fabulous coach friend of mine, Andrea, and she says movement creates momentum, and I cannot agree with her more. So this week, give yourself permission to create a 1-degree shift in your life. Ask yourself every day, and multiple times a day if you want to, how am I doing? Or take an assessment of one specific area of your life. How do I feel about this? Fill in the blank. How do I feel about my sleep? How do I feel about my body? How do I feel about whatever it is? Fill in the blank. And check in with yourself every day in that area. How do I feel today about this? And when you get really clear with what you want instead, so I feel stiff in my body. Okay, so what do I want instead of feeling stiff? I want to feel strong and centered and balanced in my physical body. Okay, cool. What's one thing I can do? Down dog. All right, cool. Boom. Whip out that yoga mat. You don't even need a yoga mat. You can just do down dog right now. Unless you're driving, then don't do that. Or if you're listening to this at work, probably don't do down dog in your cubicle. You might get a visit from HR. But in any case, just do one thing. And then the next day, ask yourself, how do I feel in my body? Maybe today you feel really good. You're like, oh, I actually feel pretty good in my body. Okay, cool. Do I want to feel better? Hell yeah. Okay, what's one thing I can do? Maybe do some more yoga. Awesome, cool. Maybe walk around the block. All right, cool. Maybe put on a song and dance. All right, cool. Maybe it's just stretching for a little bit. All right, that's cool too. Give yourself permission to be flexible. That's another thing with the 1-degree shift that a lot of people ask me about is when I create and figure out that one step. Do I just keep doing that step over and over and over again? Or do I change it every day? And I'm like, that's up to you. That is up to you. You can try it out. You can see if doing down dog every day helps. If it does, keep going. If maybe one day down dog feels good, but then the next day dancing around your house feels better, do that. This is a very intuitive process. It's a very personalized process. But the thing is it will change your life forever. And I promise you, if you commit to checking in with yourself every day and asking yourself, how do I feel? And what's one thing I can do to feel better? Regarding any aspect of your life, Within 6 months, you will be in a completely different place. And that place is going to be much more positive than where you're at now, because you are intentionally bringing yourself there. Remember, most people run away from change. Most people just stick with the status quo because that's safe. It's predictable. And when we start changing shit, stuff gets unpredictable, and then people freak out and we're like, fuck this. Nope, I'm not doing it. Trust me, I've been there. But that's what massive change does. When you do that 180 or that 45-degree angle or that 90-degree shift, you're changing a lot. And of course it's going to be scary because you're completely getting outside of your comfort zone. And you're completely getting outside of the normal routines that you do. Well, this is going to use a lot of blood glucose. I talk about this in my book. It's going to use a lot of blood glucose. And what's going to happen is you're going to get tired faster. You may stick with it for a couple weeks, and then you're going to go back to the way that you were before. In the over 20 years I've been coaching with people, I have seen this happen more times than not. Somebody makes a massive change. Within a month, usually, they're back to where they started because it was too much change, too fast, and it burnt them out. And the one thing that I've also seen is the people that stick to the 1-degree shift have a completely different life and are completely in a better place because they allow themselves to take one step at a time. They made a 1-degree shift instead of a 45-degree shift or a 90-degree shift or 180. Making a 1-degree shift will create sustainable change. It will create lasting change. And it will create intentional change that you initiate. Not that somebody else does. You are in control of it. You are in charge of what you choose to do on a daily basis. And that, my friend, is the ultimate feeling of empowerment because you're like, hell yeah, I want to do this and I'm going to do it and it's going to feel freaking amazing. And I'm telling you, on that day that you hit snooze and you walk past that yoga mat and you're like, damn it, I don't have time to do 20 minutes. Fuck it, I'm just going to do 2 minutes. And I'm telling you, 2 minutes, you can get some good yoga poses in 2 minutes. You can get some good stretches. You do that for 2 minutes, you get up, you are going to own the day. I am telling you from experience. Something shifts in your body when you make a promise to yourself and you do it. And like I said, the beautiful thing about the 1-degree shift is it's a tiny, tiny action. It is small. But when you are intentional with the actions that you take, those tiny actions are mighty in their results. They are mighty in their results, and you will feel that positive shift. And after several weeks of this, I can guarantee you there's going to be people that stop you and say, what are you doing? Like, I want what you're doing. Like, what are you doing? So, we're gonna end this podcast episode with that same quote that I started it with. So, and I quote, and this is from Unknown. 6 months from now, you can be in a completely different place mentally, spiritually, and financially. Keep working and believing in yourself. So, this week, give yourself permission to create that little 1-degree shift in your life by just picking an area of your life and every day check in. How do I feel? And what do I want? Okay, what's one thing I can do to get there? That's it. That is it. That's it. I'm so excited for you. Okay, I hope that this has served you. I love you. Keep coming back and keep creating a 1-degree shift in your life every single day. And just wait and watch and see how fabulous your life becomes. Yay! All right. I'll see you in the next episode. If you're enjoying this content, which I hope you are, and you're applying this knowledge in your life and are seeing results, I would love to hear about your successes. Click the link in today's show notes, share your success story with me so you can help to inspire others. Also, if you've been loving these episodes, it would mean the world to me if you would rate this podcast on iTunes. A 5-star rating is what I always aim for. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. All links mentioned are in today's show notes.